of Agriculture, and I went to the Division of Entomology, and I was ushered into the office of the Chief. And the Chief was Timothy McCarthy. And I didn't know that Timothy McCarthy was the #1 boy enrolled on the Hillston roll. I have shaken McCarthy's hand. Afterwards, for $1, I will shake your hand. You can say that you have shaken the hand of Timothy, of the fellow who shook the hand of the #1 boy at Hillston. Yes, we don't know who we know. And later on, of course, I went into the department permanently, and I worked with literally a cloud of fellows who had been at Hillston. Magnificent men, that's all I can say about it, and I'm not saying it because Roy Watts is here. He was magnificent too. You see, I remember, although Roy Watts didn't, because I was nobody, but I knew he was somebody, and that he was, but at that time he was only the Deputy Chief of the Division of Animal Industry. And I learned tonight, always knew that I had worked on a committee with Cole Bloomer. Cole Bloomer, Distinguished Conduct Medal, whose name is on the honour roll. And I learned tonight that Roy jogged my memory. Cole Bloomer was the Chief of the Division of Animal Industry. So I was with Cole on this committee that controlled grasshopper plagues throughout New South Wales. So I worked on a committee with a bloke that was higher than Roy Watts. And that was Cole Bloomer, a magnificent man. And as I've read the history these last few weeks, John Fletcher's, no not Fletcher, I'll get into it. As I've read the history of the school this week, I've read that Cole Bloomer's father was an inspector involved in the founding of this school. But anyway, there were great fellows there. Walter Poggendorf, who got the rice industry going in New South Wales. And I introduced into the Department of Agriculture Don McDonald, who became a rice breeder, got his PhD, and he's a Regional Director of Agriculture or something better at the moment, if there is anything better. And he was a boy from Hillston. Now, part of the interesting work that I did as a research agronomist in the department, I thought it was interesting anyway, was while I was at Yanko Experiment Farm for a couple of years, I was out walking one day and I saw on the hill in the dry area a round patch of green, 200 yards away, about 6 foot wide it must have been. I said, I bet that's subterranean clover, because I had been taught at university that sheep eat subterranean clover and it passes right through, they crap it out, they lay these sort of fertilised pellets, and the stuff grows. And subterranean clover didn't grow there. It hadn't grown there, but Cole Hood had established a strip or two experimental, and sheep had eaten it and carried it. My mind clicked. If that patch of subclover had survived for 3 years away from any tending, therefore it would survive in the natural rainfall. If it survived for 3 years in natural rainfall, would it have survived for the last 35 or 40 years when we had natural rainfall? Go and look at the rainfall records. I did. What about evaporation? I used the formula for that the Prescott in South Australia had invented, and I went through, and I reckon subterranean clover would grow, and would grow. Where? Grow here at Yanko, but what about the stretch of land that Yanko served? How big is that? Go to Hoonham's tables, have a look at his climatic area graphs, lay a grid over it, work out the square mileage that there is. What would be the increase in production? Calculate the value of that. Wow, $5 million compared to $5.5 million for the whole of the MIA. This is big. Write this up. So I did. Sent in the report. Paul Dan was the agronomist who came to take over the work that I had sort of forecast, and he came from Yanko. And to cut a long story short, that was the beginning of the Dwalgun-up belt. That's an old variety now, they're chucking it out. It does funny things to sheep, doesn't it? Right. And anyway, but it fed a lot of sheep. And we calculated in one of our senior ag classes recently, a couple of years ago, that it's probably